What is going on, guys? Panther here, bringing you our APA Wi-Fi Week 6 match against Arcanine and the San Antonio Victrebels. So as you can see here, we are having to do this match on Showdown. Unfortunately, it is APA Wi-Fi, but we are doing APA Showdown this week for Week 6. And obviously, this upload is very, very late. Having some difficulties right now, personally. So we're just going to continue here. No layout. Just want to pump the replay out for you guys with a little bit of post commentary on it, just so you can see what happened in our Week 6 battle, and hopefully our Week 7 battle will be up shortly after. But anyways, so Arky had a very scary team. He had the Mamoswine. He has a Salamence that he didn't bring, along with a Mega Beedrill. So I do have a defensive Arcanine with Rocky Helmet, primarily for the Mega Beedrill, because otherwise Beedrill just kind of ran through my team. But he did not bring it, just with the simple fact that I do have an Arcanine. As well as Sand. Gigalith kind of stops it as well. And obviously, Excadrill in the Sand does a lot of work to him. So he did bring Rotom Heat just in case I did decide to bring Sand Excadrill. So I couldn't just sit here and spam Earthquake. But he does also... I didn't even bring Sand. I brought Mold Breaker specifically for the Rotom Heat. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the match here. I decided to lead off with my Excadrill, predicting him to want to lead off with the Empoleon. Then I could kind of see if I wanted to take the risk or not and Earthquake it, risking it to be Shuka. Or also if he wanted to lead off with the Rotom Heat, just trying to get off a Volt Switch. So let's go ahead and hit play here. As you can see, he leads off with the Tizarina. I don't know what this thing wants to do to me. I know I can't kill it with any one move, so I'll just go ahead and go out to my Arcanine. He goes straight for that U-turn, and we get some good chip on him right there. So he goes out into the Empoleon. I predict him actually to Stealth Rock here and just fire off the close combat, knowing I could do a lot of damage to it. Took a risk there, but I figured it was definitely a risk that I was willing to take, because I really did not think he was going to Scald there with me having a Melodic. So I actually predict him to go out into the Spiritomb next and go ahead and fire off Flare Blitz. Also, I could have Toxic there if I wanted to go ahead and just get my Toxic off on it. But either way, it doesn't really matter because we do score the Toxic on it on the following turn, and he just goes for a Shadow Sneak there, and we end up getting that nice chip on him again there. So he does Toxic from Arcanine, which is unfortunate because he doesn't really have a whole lot for it outside of the Mamoswine and the Empoleon, which is already at 50% health. Melodic can take this thing on for days, so I'll just go ahead and go out to my Melodic here. He makes a good prediction and goes out into his Rotom Heat. I predict him to Volt Switch here, but no way I was going to risk my Excadrill. So I just go out into my Miltank, because it can take on whatever he wants to do to me. So now I go out into my Miltank. No point in staying in because he does have the high jump kick. I can just go straight out into my Arcanine, get the Intimidate off on this thing, and get some nice chip on it again. I do take Rocks and the Toxic, but I can Morning Sun up on the following turn. No problem, and we do have a little bit more chip down on the Tizarina. So I do get my Morning Sun off as he goes out into the Rotom Heat. He's pretty free just to Volt Switch again here, but I do predict him to overheat that time and just stay in. So I do stay in, I do get the Toxic off on it, which is nice. We do find out later that this is actually a Choice Scarf Rotom. So at this point, anyways, we can just go ahead and Morning Sun up. Not a big deal. The Toxic damage is starting to rack up, but that is what it is there. So he brings in the Empoleon. I can go out into my Melodic. This thing can't really do much to me unless it's offensive with the Grass Knot, which he is not. He predicts me to go out into the Melodic, I guess, and does go into Spiritomb. So don't know why he went into Spiritomb there. I guess he maybe been just sacking it off. Maybe he predicted the close combat with Arcanine, actually. But anyways, we can just fire off the Scald here. He brings in the Tizarina. I can recover up because this thing can't touch me even with Trop Kick. You see how little that does. Yeah, so I'm A-okay with that type of damage. Fire off the Ice Beam just to get some damage off on it. He goes for the Trop Kick, gets the crit. The crit didn't really matter because I'm going to recover here next turn regardless. It did just kind of suck to be at a lower percentage of health though. But this turns out to be a really hacksy battle, so stay tuned. So he goes out to the Rotom Heat again, fires off the Volt Switch. I bring my Latios in. I'm just trying to switch things up on him, keep him guessing. I can take the Volt Switch or the Overheat, either one. I do have Recover, so not really worried. I predict him to Pursuit here, and I did not want to lose my Latios, so I just Recover because I can need the Pursuit as well. And the Toxic's obviously going to rack up on him. So, and I know he's not going to Pursuit that second time, so I just go ahead and go out into my Melodic. He Toxics, not a big deal. I go out into my Melodic, which is already burned because of the Flame Orb, and we can take this thing on, do whatever. So I can recover up here. This thing's gonna be annoying, very annoying. As you can already see, traces my Marvel Scale. I don't have a lot for the Porygon 2 because I don't have a fighting type, and I don't have a very good knockoff user, so that is what it is there. But as you can see, he turns out to be the Bolt Beam Porygon, which matches up decently well against my team. But I have a very stally team with 4 of my mons having recovery, so I'm in a pretty decent shape here. But as you can see, we're almost 25 turns in, and nobody has actually died yet, so that is rather unfortunate as well. But we're able to get up to a really good health with Miltank, which was needed. I do have thick fat, so I can help check the Mamoswine as well. Go out into my Arcanine, which just takes this thing on really well. I can, just proceed to Morning Sun again. He knows I'm going to Morning Sun. It's no secret. I can just get back up to a very decent amount of health. That Intimidate factor is just so huge to have, honestly. So go out to my Excadrill here, predicting the Volt Switch. I know he's not going to overheat, and we're able to get in for free finally. And now I can pick up my kill. So he doesn't have anything he wants to switch into. Earthquake, Tizarina is very low, so I do pick up the kill in the Spiritomb there with the Earthquake. So we did pick that up. He goes out into the Mamoswine next. No way I'm standing. I don't know what this thing is. No way I'm going to stand on this when I have my Melodic. He goes for the Icicle Crash. Obviously, that doesn't really matter too much. It wouldn't have done much to Melodic. If he would have Earthquaked, I think he was more predicting my Latios, though, there to come in. So he goes out into the Porygon 2, which is a perfect switch into that thing, while I'll double out into my Jolteon. So we do get some big damage off on it. And when I say big, that is sarcastic with the 30%, because I am Choice Specs. He does go for the Ice Beam, because he is just the Bolt Beam set with Toxic and, yeah. So I go for the Thunder Wave. That miss sucked. I know I wouldn't have really done anything to the Porygon 2. I couldn't have Toxic'd it or anything like that. And I think Argy even said that it wasn't important, but I do feel like it was important, just because how the rest of this battle plays off. It is only a 33% chance to para, but that is a 33% chance that you can't recover. So, keep that in mind as the battle progresses. That Thunder Wave, I think, was, it sucked to miss. It definitely sucked to miss, especially since almost half of my team is Toxic at this point. Definitely 2 of my better walls are Toxic. So, obviously it's just a para on Porygon, but like I said, it does take away from him being able to consistently recover. So I do miss it. Oh well. I don't think he's going to stay in here to let this thing get paired. He can go out into the Mamoswine or to the Rotom Heat. I thought he would probably go Mamoswine to put some offensive pressure on me, but he does go out to the Rotom Heat instead. So I double into Melodic, predicting Mamoswine, but he goes out into this thing. So I'll go out into my Latios. He Thunderbolts, so we eat that, and I'm able to get up my Recover. So I'm at a pretty decent amount of health. I do have T-Bolt, which can 2-hit KO this thing. He has Ice Beam. It can only do like 40% to me or something, 45%, so not too bad, but he does get the freeze. So yeah, that really sucked, because Latios did do a lot of work to his team. All he really had left for it was the Mamoswine, presumably the Ice Shard, or if this thing was Scarf, because I didn't know if it was Scarf or not at this point in the battle. But with the freeze, that basically eliminates my Latios. Now, my Latios did like 45% to the Porygon 2. So if I could get it low enough, I could potentially take it out, because it was one of my best mons to do a lot of damage to it all at once. So the freeze definitely sucked there, to say the least. But it's Pokemon, and with a battle this long, there's hacks that is going to happen. So I go into my Jolteon here because I can, revenge definitely whatever he wants to bring in here. I didn't want to go out to the Mamoswine for free, so I just fire off a Shadow Ball there. I didn't think he'd go out to the P2. But if we do pick up the kill into Tizarina, he goes out to Mamoswine. which I think is scarfed at this point, just by the way he's kind of playing it. We eat the knockoff with Miltank. As you can see, we get the milk drink up. I am faster. Wow. I just now realized that. He had a lot of defensive investment. So he earthquakes. As you can see, we do a pretty decent amount to it. We body slam and we get the Paris. So we do get a little bit of justice there from the earlier Thunderwave miss. So Mamoswine takes out my Miltank. That is what it is there on that. He does go out into this thing. I just recover up with the Melodic because I need to keep it healthy to help me deal with the Mamoswine. Otherwise, Mamoswine's going to run through my team here at this point. So he's got the Thunderbolt. Porygon 2 is going to be so annoying for me to deal with. I don't really know how I'm going to beat it at this point. So I'm going to have to keep Latios, the Porygon 2, low to revenge it with my Excadrill. That is my plan at this point. I have to keep it either A, have to keep it low, or B, have to stall it out, which is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to say the least. So as you can see, yeah, I'm quick feet because what I didn't want to happen is, and let me clarify this too, because he did question this in his video. So obviously this thing has Trace. It comes in on my Jolteon, traces my Volt Absorb, shuts down my Volt Switch. So that is why I'm quick feet. For those of you that are thinking this at that point in the battle. And all he had as an electric type was the Rotom Heat as well, which I had Excadrill that I could switch into it, my Latios, or my Melodic, or my Arcanine if I guessed the play right. So, that is what it is there. So I do predict him to go for the Toxic there on the Blitzkrieg. I go out into my Excadrill. He is smart and recovers up, though, the Earthquake damage, or else I would have been able to pick up the kill on him there with the crit. But he does get up to a nice and healthy amount. And I'm not going to stay in and try to crit this thing down quite yet. I know I need a Toxic off on it really badly, so I do go out to my Arcanine here because I just need that Toxic so bad, or just to score that close combat off on something. So I got a Morning Sun up here. I can't risk either close combating and him recovering, or me toxicking him going out with this thing, or the Rotom Heat, which is already toxic. So I've got a Morning Sun up so I can make a play. So he goes out into the Empoleon, fires off the Aqua Jet, and I just go ahead and pick that thing off with close combat. But unfortunately, I do lose my Arcanine to the toxic damage. But at that point, it didn't matter because I couldn't come back into Stealth Rocks. So I have to go out to my Excadrill here, because my Jolteon can't really touch this thing. If he did go out to the Mamoswine, I still can't touch it. And if he went out to the Rotom Heat, I can't. It forced me to make a prediction. So if he went out to the Rotom Heat, I did have this where I could just fire off an Earthquake. So I'm really forced to go out to Excadrill there. So I go out into my Excadrill. He goes out into his P2, which is by far his safest play. And I just start firing off Earthquakes, hoping and praying that I can pick up like a super crit and just knock this thing out. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I know he's going to recover, but that is what it is. That is what it is. So I just start firing off Scalds. I know it's a terrible play, but that's all I have. I have Scald, Ice Beam. I had Haze. Yeah, I had Haze and I had Recover. So yeah, I didn't want to fire off an Ice Beam and him go out into this thing is what I did not want to do. I know I could have given him my Marvel Scale, but he didn't have the Marvel Skull at that point. He had Mold Breaker. So I predict him to go for the Overheat. Yeah, you see what happened to that. Yeah, I stay in and just recover it off, because even if you want to go for Volt Switch or anything like that, I can see what he wants to lock himself into. But now he picks up my Marvel Scale, and I'm forced to really Scald, because what I don't want him to do is to go back out for free into the Rotom Heat and me to get myself into another situation like I just got myself in. I know I can give him the Marvel Scale boost, which would be awful for me, and then I'd really have to rely on Jolteon to knock him out with T-Bolts, or maybe getting a pair or something like that, but I had to do it at this point. I had to do it because it looked very bleak. So my plan really was just to keep the Porygon low enough to where I could bring my Excadrill in and play for a Iron Head flinch. So all I'm doing here is just trying to stall this thing out a little bit and just really wait for when the opportunity is right, just to bring in my Excadrill, just to try to put some more pressure on his team. So I do predict him to go for the Recover this time. He goes for a T-Bolt, actually. Or no, I actually predicted him to go for the Thunderbolt there. I'm sorry, we played this battle 2 weeks ago. So I do get this thing in safely, and now all of a sudden, I'm in a pretty decent spot. So I think what Arky should have done there is recovered off this damage. Because now I'm in a spot to where he either has to sacrifice something or risk me Ironhead flinching this thing down. So I go for the Ironhead, and as you can see, we do get that 30% flinch. So like I said, a lot of really important hacks have happened so far in this match. So he's got to switch here. He's got to switch. He knows that. He's got to sacrifice something. But he sacrifices the thing that he doesn't really need at this point, because Ironhead's still going to be able to 2-hit KO this thing with the toxic damage. So I'm free to stay in and just keep going for Ironheads here. So we do pick up the Rotom Heat kill, which is lovely for us. And then he goes into the Mamoswine. So it took me a really long time to make this play right, this next play that I'm about to make right here. So I sat here and I thought, and I'm like, you know, we've seen the damage that this thing's doing at this point. We have seen how my Miltank was faster. And I've also seen how Arky has ran berries specifically on this guy, I think against like Modicus's Salazzle, to help check something that really causes problems for his team. So I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm calcing, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this thing's probably going to be Berry. So I'm like, so what happens? Let's play this out in my head. So he's going to Earthquake here no matter what. So I can sack my Jolteon. I could go out to my Melodic, but if I go out to my Melodic, he's free to go back out into his Porygon too and just recover up, because there's no way I'm 2-hit KOing this thing with Scalds at this point. Or I could stay in. This thing's paralyzed, and hopefully Excadrill can come in clutch again and Paraflinch this thing down. So I decide for the second option. I go for the Ironhead here. He pops his Berry, and we end up flinching it down. So we do get two pretty crucial pairs. He goes for what looks to be the Ice Shard there. That's just really insult to injury at this point. Ice Shard wasn't coming anywhere close to knocking out Excadrill, so we do pick up the other, and also the crit there at that point that, you know, was pointless. Obviously, the flinch on the Porygon is what mattered. He does bring back out the Porygon 2, and kind of fitting there that its name is triggered, and it goes down to the second Ironhead. So really good battle there by Arky. He played very well. He made the plays that he had to put himself in position to win there. So I know he was pretty upset that night. So, you know, hopefully we get another opportunity to battle. So that is what it is. We end up picking up a 3-0 win, like I said, in a very hacksy game. And let's not have any misconceptions about it. It was very hacksy on both sides. Obviously, the hacks at the end caused me to win, but his hacks earlier in the game did put me in the position that it did put me in, with the Latios getting frozen. And then with the Thunder Wave missing as well, because I could have potentially Paraflinched that thing down anyways later, which would have been a much higher chance, because then I had a 33% chance minus just that 30% chance on the Ironhead to Paraflinch that thing down. Just call this Excadrill my Jirachi from now on, I guess. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Sorry about it being late again, and until next time.